Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our March webinar, Confidence in Leadership. Thank you so much for everybody that's taking the time out of the day to join us today. We do really appreciate that. We know you're all busy, so we do really appreciate your time. So if you have just a couple of housekeeping rules, we can keep yourself on mute. There will be a chance to ask any questions for our fantastic guest speaker today. There's a chat box. Please add all your questions in that, and we will have a Q&A session towards the end. So this webinar will also be recorded, and you will receive a copy of this webinar in your inbox, as well as some handouts and the slides as well, so for your own reference. So without further ado, let me introduce our fantastic speaker today. We're delighted to welcome Toni Eastwood, OBE MBA, with us today. Toni is the Chair of Board of Operations at ELA and has experienced leadership and business growth experts who is a business growth expert who's supported thousands of learners and leaders, owners and business owners to build confidence, clarity and momentum. Today she'll be sharing practical insights to help us trust yourself more, lead more confidently and take stronger action in business and in careers. Over to you, Toni. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Adele. Thank you everyone for joining me. It's lovely to see you all here on I don't know what the weather's like there. I'm in Spain at the minute. It's very sunny. So let me know what the weather's like where you are. Let me know as well in the chat where you are. And if you would like to, I'd like to invite you to put your cameras on. I'd love to see you all. I can see some of you, but yes, so thank you for joining us. And I'm going to get some slides up. Bear with me while I do that. Okay, can you all see the slides? Please give us a thumbs up, put yes in the chat so that I know you're there. Because I lose the sight of everyone once I put the slides up. Oh, yeah, thumbs up. I like to see those. Yeah, so welcome to how to create indestructible trust in yourself. Otherwise, confidence in leadership. Because frankly, leadership is all about us. It comes from us to start with. So me, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of information about me. Adele's kindly done that lovely introduction. And I like to call this my dojo because this is a safe place where we can come to learn, come to practice. And if any of you know about martial arts, the dojo is the place where we come to learn our skill, where we come to hone our skills. But we know that we probably never will achieve mastery. But what the master knows is that we love the journey. And the whole thing about confidence and leadership and mastering our craft is about getting into and staying in action in the direction of where it is that we want to go, you know, our vision, our goals, our dreams and aspirations. If we're not in action, then we get stuck, we procrastinate, we pretend to be perfectionists, and what we end up doing is actually going backwards and shrinking our comfort zone. So we want to be in action. We want to be learning new skills all the time and honing them. So hopefully today you're going to learn some really practical things around how we create that confidence, that trust in ourselves, so that we can build, optimize, actualize, and lead. So without further ado, I would like you to just share with me in the chat, who are you, where are you from, and most importantly, why have you come today? Why have you given up your Friday morning to come along to this webinar? I'd really love to know what is it that you'd like to get out of the session. Maybe give me some things that you struggle with. Any fears and doubts that you might have as a leader? What is it about confidence for you that maybe you're struggling with, or maybe the title of this webinar made you think, oh, I fancy doing that on Friday. I can't see the chat, so Adele, would you be able to just shout out anything that's coming in?
Of course, no problem. So
don't be shy.
We've got Kona has said, I'm Kona, I'm a team leader and would love some guidance in my new role. I'm in Wigan. And then we've got Anna who said, hi, I'm an asset manager who is mid 2P, very unnerving, just needed a boost and this seemed perfectly timed. We've got Katie who said, Stockport Young Career Service, manage a team of 15 that can be challenging, especially around conflict and different personalities. Yeah, that's definitely one. And then I've got Shabiba said, engagement and intelligent lead for Warwickshire North, Health Watch Warwickshire. We are potentially being closed down, so I'm working towards enhancing my skills. We got Mujib who said, I'm Mujib Mirza. Sorry if my pronunciation isn't great, guys. I'm from London. I'm here. I also wanted to learn new skills and how I can better lead my team. But Kate who said, a registered manager, always enjoy further learning as I feel. Oh, everybody's typed at the same time, and that's jumped my screen, so apologies. Always as I feel it's good for development for myself and my senior staff. Elaine has said, sometimes doubt my decisions, even though I know my role just needed a boost. Joshua has said, Josh Locken, a quality manager based in Cooper's Fire in Portsmouth. I'm here to understand how I can become more confident in inspiring my team. Ashley has said, I'm in Mardell from Eastbourne. I'm really interested in developing my leadership skills and becoming more effective and how I can communicate and make decisions. Carolyn has said she's a deputy manager from Rochdale. Hannah is a deputy chief officer for a charity in the southeast, and she said, I'm prone to retreating into a comfort zone and would like some guidance and inspiration to keep leadership progression from becoming stagnant. And then Julie has said she's an operations manager from ELA, actually, always keen to learn and gain new skills and knowledge to apply to my leadership role to support my team. Ross said she's operations manager. As arrived age of 46, have never mastered confidence in any area of my life. Here for hints and tips how I can build confidence from within without it being centered around how others perceive me. Do you want me to carry on, Toni, because there's loads?
No, I think we've got just for time, but thank you all so much for putting that in. So look, we're all around the country, which is great, and it sounds like some of you've got actually what I see as an amazing opportunity to like take today and take some time after today to like reshape where you're going, where your career's going. If you're, maybe needing to change your career, or you're under 2P and things like that, and uncertain times, I know that can really knock our confidence. And I've been there a number of times, having been made redundant and walked away from a big corporate job. And I know what it feels like to have that confidence like come back and bite you, or lack of confidence, a self-doubt, it bites you in the bum. It appears when you don't want it to be there. So what I'm going to share today is 11 what I call big ideas around how do we generate that trust in ourselves, because frankly, confidence in leadership, or confidence just generically, comes down to ourselves. And the original sort of origin of the word confidence comes from, an old late Middle English, which actually means trust in yourself. And frankly, leadership starts with you, doesn't it? If we can't manage and lead ourselves and demonstrate the way, then it's going to be really hard to engage the teams that we want to engage and help them to deliver the results that we need them to deliver. So what we're going to be looking at really is, there's two levels of confidence I like to sort of position. One is the macro. So what is it like? How do we position ourselves in the big picture, in our role in life, in our business, in our organizations that we're working in? And then there's in the micro moments, in the day to day, the minute to minute, where actually we just need to know that we can make the right decision, and that we trust ourselves to make the right decision, and have that belief that we can really do this and we can really handle anything that's thrown at us, and trust ourselves that we will be able to do that. And if we stand back long enough and give ourselves the space, we can always find examples of where we've done that, where we've overcome difficult challenges, where we've had to deal with difficult situations, difficult people, where we've had to step outside of our comfort zone and get on and do something that maybe we didn't feel confident about, maybe we didn't even want to do, maybe we're put in a difficult situation. You will see that you've actually done this many, many times before. But the reason we struggle with confidence is because we're human. It's not because it's you, it's not because you're different, it's not because you're weak or you've got something wrong with you. It's because fundamentally, as humans, our brain tries to keep us safe. But it's keeping us safe from a very, very ancient point of view. I always like to say we've got our modern AI, sort of artificial intelligence, but we've got a really ancient wisdom, our ancient intelligence, which tries to keep us safe. You know, when we were running around as cavemen and women, we were under a lot of threat and in a lot of danger. So our brain tries to spot danger for us, and then it holds us back. It's that little voice in our head that says, yeah, who do you think you are, Toni Eastwood, coming and delivering a program like this? You know, who do you think you are, trying to lead this big team, and it's that little thing on your shoulder, that devil on your shoulder that's saying, hey, hello, you're not really confident about this. So it happens to all of us. It happens to the best of us. So what I'm going to share with you today is 11 big ideas that I want you to just listen to as if you were kind of listening to the radio. See if anything resonates. Not everything will resonate, and it's a lot to get through in an hour, but see maybe if one or two or three things you think, actually, I like that idea. I'm going to try and play with that. And as Adele said, at the end of the session or after the session, we're going to send you the recording. We're going to send you the slides. And also I've got a little workbook that you can actually have a play with some of these ideas, that you can expand on them a little bit more. And I always say, after anything like this, you get out of anything like this what you put into it. Okay, so listen, think about the takeaways, think about how it applies to you, and think about what you might needs to sort of do as a result, stay in action after this session and actually put some things into practice. And I like to say practice because we are practicing all the time to try and get better. So hopefully that's all right. Please stick a yes, thumbs up in the comments if you're okay with that, and we will carry on. As Adele said, as we go through, put your questions in the comments, and we will have some time at the end, like thumbs up, have some time at the end to answer those for you, any personal things that you want to ask. And please feel comfortable that we are in a safe place. So I do want you to feel like you can ask any questions, and anything stays in this room, okay? So the first big idea is about self-efficacy. And it's having that fundamental belief that actually I can create whatever I want to create in my life or in my team and in my business area. And there are actually 4 areas that can help you to do that. So you can look at mastery experiences, so prior successes. So what have you done in the past that's really helped you, where you've been really good, where you've been really successful? Think about that. What have you done that's you've been really proud of, that you've celebrated? We can all find something in our past. And what we tend to do as we go into leadership is we forget that we're bringing all those skills with us. We're bringing all of that experience with us. We can also look at mastery experience in our craft. So that might be in our domain of expertise. It might be in our job role. It might even be like in sport or in business or as a parent. What things have you done and do you do to sort of craft and create mastery in your life. So a great example of this is if you're a writer. So this came from Stephen King, the horror writer. So he says, you know, my mastery in life is writing. So what I do to hone that skill is every day I write, I read, I look at what other people are doing, and I craft and I hone that skill. So what is that area for you? Is it your job? Is it your expertise? Is it your vocation? You know, it might even be something that you do outside of work. So what's an area of your life that you have actually developed and honed a skill or an expertise? The other area is through vicarious learning. So how can you look outside at others who are doing something similar to you and look at what they're doing and think, well, okay, if he or she can do that, then actually I could do it as well. Now, there's a big watch out here, because I'm sure we've all experienced it, especially with social media, is we can look at what other people are doing, and if we're not careful, we can start to compare ourselves and think, oh no, well, I'm not as good as them, or they've done this, this and this, and I haven't, so I'm not as good. And actually what you can create is doubt. And what we don't want, you know, that's the opposite of confidence. When we want to be confident, we don't want to create doubt, and we don't want to emphasize things. But what we do is look at a very top level. What is it things that those people are doing that I can actually take away? Now, I did this earlier in my career, and I published loads of research on what successful people were doing to help them create their success. So everything that I now do and teach is from a model that I developed from that research. And I did ancient wisdom, you know, right back to the Stoics and the Romans and the Greeks. You know, what was it that they were doing to create success, the philosophers, right through to modern positive psychology, neuroscience. What are those gurus telling us that we need to do to create success? So everything that, you know, I've learned and honed as my skill here, I now use to train and develop and work with other people and coach other people. So, you know, everything that I'm teaching here is what I've learned from other people. You know, we can all stand on the shoulders of other people that have done the work before us, that have gone before us. And I think the statistics say that nothing new, frankly, has been invented since the 1960s. So all of the time, you know, we're taking information in, we're regurgitating it, and we're using that for ourselves, mostly to build that self-efficacy and building that belief in ourselves. So what is it that you do that helps build that mastery, that self-efficacy for you? And if you're not doing much now, what is it that you could do? You know, when I was younger and in my first leadership position, I looked to the leaders around me and I saw that they all had MBAs and qualifications. So I thought, well, right, I'm going to go away and do one of those then. You know, so I've always been on this journey for me of personal growth and self-mastery. And I do something daily towards that. So what might that be for you today? And share some of that in the chat for us. Let us know what it is that you want to do. So moving on to big idea number 2. And this is all about the science of hope. Who knew, hands up, there was a science of hope? Or maybe thumbs down if you didn't know, but there is a science to hope. And the opposite of hope is hopeless. And none of us want to feel that. So we want to know that there is a way of creating hope for ourselves, that there is a better future for us. There is a way of us achieving our goals. There is a way of us getting to where we want to get to. And the way that successful people do that, whether that's in, you know, business, leadership, whether that's in entrepreneurship, whether that's in art or, you know, the sciences, in anything, successful people and leaders set meaningful goals. And this is probably the number one thing that you can do as a leader for you and your teams, is to help them and you have meaningful goals. You know, what is it that you're trying to achieve as a business, as a team, as individuals? And the more that you know about that, the more you can help people align their activities in work, the more you know about people's hopes and dreams in life. You know, let's be frank, we don't all come to work with only work on our minds. You know, we all have our own hopes and dreams about life. And the more you know about those of the team that work around you, the more you can help them to have a more fulfilling time at work, as well as develop themselves for, you know, more wider, more grounded achievements in life. So setting meaningful goals. What is your goal? Who's got a wildly important goal that they're working towards now in their business or as part of their team? Let me know what they are. The second part of this, the science of hope, is that we find pathways to achieve them. So if a goal is meaningful enough to us, then we will find multiple ways of trying to achieve it. So we've got that target out there, and there are ways that we set off to try and achieve that. And again, being frank and in this room, not everything we do the first time or the first pathway we take actually works. You know, we've got to be realistic, is not everything that we do works. So what we want to be able to do is look at what the options are, and we all want to have lots of options. What are the options? What are we going to do first? And if that doesn't work, once we've reviewed it, or it's not working, it's not getting us where we want to get to, the way we want to get there, then we need to think about a different route. And that is a really great strength of a leader, is that we can say, right, no, this isn't working. I've looked at the data, taken the feedback from all of my team around me, and actually what we're doing isn't working, or this bit isn't working, but that bit is. And so here's what we're going to do instead. And we're going to take a slightly different pathway. And the goal needs to be meaningful enough that you are prepared to keep trying different ways of getting there. Because what we don't want is flip-flopping about on goals. We have to decide that this is the goal we're going after and really, really focus our energy on doing that. But it might take a number of ways of doing it. But it's being prepared to lead those ways and take those different and find those different pathways. And your job as a leader is to do that. It's like, we've got a big goal as a team or a business, and how are we going to approach it? Taking on board data, information, your expertise, but also your team around you. They've got something to offer you. And then it's about staying motivated. So agency. First of all, that belief that actually, if we stay on this road, even if it gets tough, we are going to get there. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be things that get in the way. And again, the science behind this is recognizing that there will be things that get in the way, and that not everything is plain sailing. You know, sometimes we want to be here and we're here, and we think that the trajectory is going to be like that, and it never is. It's up and down, up and down. You know, we go up, then something happens, we slip down. It's like a game of snakes and ladders. And it's being prepared to accept that and not beat ourselves up when something does go wrong, when the proverbial hits the fan, because they always do. If you're working on a project or a goal that's meaningful enough, things will never be plain sailing. And I think as a leader, it's our job to, one, recognise that for ourselves, but also support our team, because where we start to lose confidence is when we start to lose hope, or we think that we're failing. And I like to say that as a leader, it's our job to present a no-fail strategy, which means that we are either winning or we're learning. There's no failure. We're learning. It's what they call the growth mindset. Again, any questions around that? Have a think about, well, how are you with that? you know, having multiple pathways? Have you got like a really meaningful goal? Do your team know what that is? And leave any notes or anything that you want us to answer in the chat. But the next big idea really is about action, identity, actions, feelings. Now, this comes from the work of a guy called Eric Greitens, and it's also from one of the universities, which has now slipped my mind, but I will get back to you on that. One of the American universities have done a lot of research on, as humans, we tend to be focused on how we feel. So we'll get up in the morning and think, oh, I don't feel great, or, you know, something goes wrong and it makes you feel a bit down, or you're feeling anxious because there's some change going on. And what happens is we allow our actions or our behaviors to be driven by our feelings. And then it means that we don't often, we're not often showing up as our best self. So our actions shape who we are, and who we are is our identity. So this research looks at what we need to do is turn that model on its head and think about an identity for ourselves that is about who do we want to show up as, who do we want to be seen as being, like almost like a superhero version of ourselves. Or if you fast forward to 5 years from now, what type of leader do you want to be? What do you want people to say about you? And then come back to today and say, okay, what is it that I need to do to start shaping that version of me? And how do I show up as that version of me now, even if I've got things to work on, even if I'm not perfect, because none of us are we? Again, we're human. But it's about then thinking, well, what's the actions then that I would be taking on a daily basis that would help me shape that version of me so that I become that person in 5 years' time that is that, you know, confident leader who's got great results, who has a brilliant team, who achieves all their goals. You know, what's that version of me look like now? And then we come back to today and we say, right, I need to act as if, and this comes from the work of a lady called Ellen Langer, and she's proven that if we act like we want to be, then we actually psychologically and physiologically change ourselves to start to build that and build our confidence, and our feelings actually then are much more confident. We feel more confident about that. So she took a bunch of octogenarians, so that's 80-plus-year-olds, into a laboratory experience. And she split half of them who would just spend a week just being themselves and doing some activities and things like that. They all had some fitness tests and psychological tests and eye tests and all sorts of tests before they went in. And then the control group did nothing other than just be themselves. But the research group were told to act as if they were 20 years younger. The whole environment was dressed up. This was done in the 80s, so it was designed like it was in the 60s. They had TVs on and films that were 20 years ago. They were told to walk around and act as if they were 20 years younger. They were asked to have conversations about what it was like. And after the 7 days, everyone went back and had these tests. And every single one of the people in the group that were told to act as if they were 20 years younger, actually their statistics showed that physiologically and psychologically, they were indeed 20 years younger. And Ellen also did another test with people where they had their eyes tested, and one of the groups actually were told to dress as pilots and pretend to be flying. And then they went and had their eyes tested again. And all of the people that had pretended or acted as if they were pilots, their eye tests were better. So, you know, what we do or how we act can really, really help us to, you know, so act as if you think you're confident. You know, what would confidence look like for you? There was also a piece of research. I don't know if any of you have heard of a lady called Amy Cuddy, but she's got a brilliant YouTube talk, which I think is about #4 in the world. And it's all about confidence. And she says as well, is that what we want to do is act as if we're confident. But she does this thing, and now I can't see any of you, so I'm going to trust you that you will stand up and do this and feel it. So she does something called the power pose, which is literally standing like this for 2 minutes. And if you do that, what it does is it's a position of power. And you often see this in nature, where you get, I don't know, gorillas and animals make themselves look and feel bigger because it gives you confidence. I'm going to sit down now, but what that does is it actually physiologically raises your testosterone levels, men and women, and it decreases your cortisol, which is your stress hormone. And what it does is it gives you a feeling of power. So, you know, in a micro moment, you can just flip the switch when you're not feeling very confident and just do a bit of a power pose. You know, you don't have to be really extreme, but just make your, you know, stand taller, stand wider, and it helps you to feel more confident. So really simply, it's like, who are you? Who do you want to be? Who do you want to show up as? And act as if you are that person. And guess what? Your feelings follow, and you will feel your best days will feel better than they did before, and your worst days will feel better than they did before. So what I'm not saying is, with confidence as we build it, that we have brilliant days every day, that we're going to feel amazing. But what we want to be in a position of as a leader is that we act the way we want to act and do the things that we need to do and show up regardless of how we feel. So unless you're really on your deathbed and you really, really can't get out of bed, you get out of bed and you go and take these actions, work with these behaviors, and show up like you want to. And in the act of doing that, we build our confidence. And we just need to step slightly outside of our comfort zone to be able to do that. So have a play with this. It's quite fun. I have an alter ego, and she is called the Zen Warrior Goddess. So I know exactly what I need to do. Is if I'm not feeling it, is I go, what would she do? What would that higher version, that alter ego of me do? And it's almost like a coaching tool for myself, because she answers me back and says, oh, well, you would just get up anyway and just get on, and you would just, you know, by lunchtime, you're going to feel a lot better. So just crack on. And you know what? It works. Okay. Any more questions? Please drop them in the chat. Big idea #4 is activate yourself. So if we think about boiling water, or maybe starting a fire, there is an activating point. So if you want to make yourself a nice cup of tea, nice brew, we need to get the water to 100 degrees centigrade before it will boil. We can get it to 98 degrees, it's not boiling. We can get it to 99.9 degrees, it's still not boiling. The activation point is 100 degrees. And if we make our cup of tea with that, it will be really delicious. If we make it when it's 50 degrees, it's going to be a really, let's face it, a rank cup of tea. But we have that, you know, in order to get momentum, we need to find what is it that activates us. You know, what is the point at which we can feel like we're on it, we're wanting to take action, we feel confident to take action. So like, in order to get to that activation point, we need to start before we're ready. And this is the point at which we quite often get stuck. We get stuck in that comfort zone. So if our comfort zone's here in this little circle, we get stuck in it. And in order to activate ourselves, we actually need to take a little step, and it's only a little step outside. And that helps us to sort of, you know, we will get the adrenaline going. Some of us might feel like that's fear or anxiousness, but actually it's the same thing. It's just a bit of adrenaline. In an actual fact, it's the same thing as excitement. The same process is going on. So like, how can you activate yourself? So I use a little statement, which is bring it on. This comes from the work of a guy called Phil Stutz. And they say, bring it on. I'm going to literally get myself on the outside of that comfort zone, just one step. And that helps us build. It helps us extend our comfort zone. So every time we take a step outside, we're extending that comfort zone. And what we don't want to do is step backwards. In any decision that we make as a leader, we are probably stepping forward into growth, which is just outside our comfort zone, or we're stepping backwards into safety. And unfortunately, each time we take a step back, that actually leaves residue in our minds and in our psychology, because basically we're telling ourselves that we don't feel we're good enough. And this is where we can get stuck. This is where we procrastinate. This is where we think, well, actually, I'm going to wait till I feel confident before I go and do this. And we never feel confident first. You know, this is a practice. The more we get into action, just in like 1% little step outside our comfort zone, the more we build our confidence. You know, if you think you just do one thing every day, like 1% better, 1% better, 1% better, over a year, the compound interest of that is absolutely massive. It's not 364%, it's actually 3,640% better. You know, so if you could do one little thing each day that just takes you outside of your comfort zone and gives you that activation point to get into action, to take the decisions, to take the lead that you need to take, you know, what might that be for you? And the thing is here, it's like we need to start anyway, because confidence doesn't happen until you take action. The activation point doesn't happen. You have to start before it happens. You have to be ready. So have a think about that. Big idea number 5 is what we call the Stockdale paradox. So this comes from a guy called James Stockdale, and he was a prisoner of war in Vietnam. And he used the work of Epictetus. So he was well read, he loved philosophy, and his favourite philosopher was Epictetus. And Epictetus kind of taught us to love what is, to no matter what the situation is, we've kind of just got to suck it up, because there's nothing we can do about the now. There's nothing we can do about the past. And there is nothing we can do about the future other than to take action now. And what he saw was he ended up the most senior officer in this prison camp. And he had to go back to his sort of philosophy beliefs around knowing what is possible and knowing that it's going to be hard, because he didn't know when any of them were going to get out of prison, and some of them were there for years. And what he saw was, he was asked a question in an interview when he was freed, and they said, what was it that the people who survived that situation, hopefully none of us are ever going to be in a situation like that, but what was it that people that survived that situation, what was it about them did he think that made them survive? What was it for him that helped him survive? So the first of all was kind of loving what is, knowing that it's going to be hard. These are the things that I'm going to really struggle with, but basically also knowing that I know it is possible to survive. I have a fundamental belief a deep, deep belief in myself that I can survive, that this is possible for me to do. What he found was with the other prisoners that really didn't survive this, not because they were, killed or murdered by the people holding them capture, it was because they themselves had this optimism, but it was a bit fake. It was a bit, well, we'll be out of here by Christmas. And then when Christmas didn't happen, it was, well, we'll be out of here by Easter. And because they're American, when it didn't happen at Easter, they were like, we'll be out of here by Thanksgiving. And when a couple of years went by where they just had this optimism, just like fake optimism, like, oh, we'll be out, don't worry, we're going to get out. What he found was those the ones that actually, they died really of broken hearts. They found themselves not able to live anymore. But the ones that looked at, I know this is going to be hard. I've got a sense of realism about what we're in. It's not going to be easy. I know I'm going to struggle. But they had a balance of optimism that I'm sure it can be possible for me. And that research, or that knowing, has it even been tested out in things as simple as people looking to lose weight or to get fit, is knowing that the people that know and recognize that, okay, I am where I am right now, and I'm just recognizing that I'm not fit, or I'm not as healthy as I'd like to be. And I really want to, I've got a big, nice goal around this. And I know that it is possible because I've seen other people that can do this, vicarious self-efficacy, but also knowing what is it that's going to be hard for me. Well, it's going to be really hard for me when I go and fill up the car with petrol and there's chocolate bars around the till. I know, and I'm talking from experience here, I will buy a couple of chocolate bars and I will eat them in the car. I know that's hard for me to not do that. And I know that it's going to be hard to get in the gym every morning because, if I'm led by my feelings, I won't get out of bed in the morning. So the Zen warrior goddess helps me get out of bed in the morning. So it's like using all these things, stacking them all together to help you to look at what's going to be hard, and therefore knowing that, what am I actually going to do about that? So if we've got a goal or a situation in leadership, it's allowing yourself some time to recognize this might be hard. This might not be a place I want to be. This might not want to be something that I actually want to do, but I'm going to play my role well. I'm going to believe that I will find a way to do it. And I've got a great team around me. And here's the things that I think are going to be hard. So therefore, this is what I'm going to do about those things as well. So it really helps you to take stock of what's going on and what you can do about it. So big idea number 6 is that we want to be anti-fragile. So if you imagine you're packaged up as a parcel, are you fragile? Are you going to break? Do we need to put a great big sticker that says fragile on it? Because don't push me around, don't put me in difficult situations because I'm going to break. Or are you actually, I'm quite tough and I can thrive under a bit of pressure, but I push me so far and then I'm going to break. I've got a bit of extra parcel tape around the corners so I don't damage that easily, but actually I could break. Or do we want to be anti-fragile, the opposite of fragile, knowing that I am actually going to get stronger as a result of these opportunities, of these adversities. I'm going to see setbacks as an opportunity to grow stronger. I'm going to do that. Bring it on. Obstacles make me stronger. Can you develop a mindset that actually thrives under pressure? So, a little bit of pressure does actually really help us step outside that comfort zone. And there's a saying, no pressure, no diamonds. It comes from a book called The Rise of Superman. And the guy who wrote it sort of said, you know, his number one learning from it is really actually without pressure, we're not going to create diamonds. Without pressure, we're not going to achieve big goals. So what we need to do is to start to see obstacles as fuel for growth. So it's almost like reverse indicator. We've got an obstacle, right? That's somewhere where I can grow. That's somewhere where the team can grow. Together, we can overcome it and prove to each other that we're great at doing things like this. So anti-fragile, I love that now. So we want a sticker that says anti-fragile. You can't break me. I'm going to grow stronger through anything you throw at me, and bring it on. I want it. Big idea number 7 is all about confidence is a cycle. Okay. So it grows when we prepare, when we take action, and we adjust as needed. So I like it. Rehearse, we let it rip, and then we reload. So an example, if you're, I don't know, you're a sports person and you're going into the arena, in your training, we're rehearsing, we're practicing skills, we're practicing drills, we've got a coach, we're really looking to hone our skills. And that's what we want to be doing at some time every day. But when we're in the arena, you know, we're ready to take that first shot or get in the ring to have that first fight, we have to let go. This is now not a rehearsal. We have to get in. We need to do our best. We need to show up as best as we can show up, knowing that we have done all that rehearsing. We've done our best to get where we are. And then we just let go and we perform. And it doesn't matter whether things go right or wrong. We just get in and we perform. Afterwards, we can then reload. So as an individual, as a team, we go back and we look at how did that go? What went well? And these are some acronyms I want you to think of. WWW, what went well? What needs work? WNW, what needs work now? Okay, so we're going to celebrate the wins. We're going to look at what is it that we can learn from it? What do we need to work on? And then what's important now? Win. So what are we going to do now as a result of everything that we've just been through? And what would we change going forwards? And it's a simple, just cycle. So we don't want to be beating ourselves up when things go wrong. We don't want to, you know, let that knock our confidence. What we want to do is say, right, okay, that's a barrier, that's an obstacle that if I overcome it, I get stronger. But I'm going to allow myself the time to review, rewind and see what happened, reload it as the version that we'd like it to be. So you will see in a lot of sports psychology and neurosciences that rehearsal pieces, we can do something as simple as a visualization, thinking about, okay, this is the version of me in 5 years' time. What is it? What is it that I feel like? What is it I look like? How do I stand? How do I react? How do I behave? How would this presentation go with me as my best self? And rehearse just in your mind. You know, that does as much, if not more, than a lot of other things can do for you with personal growth. You can get your team to discuss, you know, what would a good job look like? I don't know if you've ever heard of that, a WAGJAL, what a good job looks like. So we've got this job, we know it's going to be hard, these are the things that we've got to overcome, but this is the goal. What would great look like for us as a team? And the team will be going, oh, it's this, it's that, it's this, it's that, and it's a bit of this, and it's a bit of that, and I'll be doing this, and you'll be doing that. And then when you know, let them perform, and then when it's time to review, we review, we see what's going, we adjust as needed. It's a really, really simple tool that takes the emotion out of it. And for those of you who are talking about, you know, how do I deal with difficult people, it's running through a cycle like this in your head of how you're going to work with them, but also getting them to do it. It's like, you know, having an honest conversation about, you know, how things are going for them, you know, maybe what's going on for them, how do they want to be seen, how how can they work on the things that need work and take the emotion out of it? It's a much simpler conversation. Just conscious of time. This is about decidere, which actually means to cut, to decide, to remove distractions, to simplify the playing ground, the battlefield, if you want to call it that. We're going to make a decision about what we're doing, what important goal we're going for. We remove all the distractions. So let's not do loads of things that don't help us get towards our goal. Let's uncomplicate it. If the team are struggling, what are the things that they're doing that actually aren't going to get you to the finish line? Focus on finishing what matters most. Now, all great leaders finish what they set out to do. And the minute you don't, then that actually weighs you down, like psychologically. So think about what is it you can cut out of what you're doing that can really simplify the actions that you're taking to go towards your goals. And then we want you to finish and achieve those goals. And then we put that on repeat. So what are we doing? Let's decide. Let's simplify it. Let's cut out everything that we're doing and let's get to the finish line. Then we're going to review and then we're going to repeat. That's simply what we're doing all the time. Number 9 is about stop signs, sirens, and panic buttons. So knowing what are the things that you're doing that puts you into, like stop blaming other people, stop, blaming the past, stop blaming the economy, stop blaming anything else. How are you going to follow through and get your things done? And it's in your follow through that really helps you to demonstrate your leadership. So we don't want to chew things over. I know that when I get stuck, I start chewing them over and over and over in my mind. So stop with that and stop the social comparison and feeling like you're not as good as other people. Stop the overwhelm. What is it that's making you overwhelmed? Probably trying to do too much, probably trying to please everyone, probably saying yes to everything rather than saying no to the things that aren't going to get you to your finish line. Think about the sirens. Like, what are the things? So anyone knows the Odyssey, the fishermen were attacked by sirens in the night, who sung them their own songs that, led them to jump ship and to their death. What are those sort of things for you? What's your kryptonite? Getting stuck on social media, that comparison, that distractions, procrastination. What are the sirens that stop you? What are the panic buttons? Look at what it is that's stopping you, that trigger you, that triggers your self-doubt, so that you can not avoid them, because those situations are going to come up, but what can you do to actually overcome some of that? So a confident leader really is someone who doesn't not get triggered. Of course we get triggered, but what we do is we recognize the signs early and we do something about it, and we respond as our best self rather than allowing ourselves to slip back into that comfort. Big idea number 10 is that we focus on solutions, okay, not problems. And this is really great with you and as with a team, and great leaders want people around them who, when challenged, you ask yourself, like, what's the next step? How do I get ourselves across the bridge? When challenge arises again, it's like, what's the next step? What's the solution? Bring me a solution. I don't want to hear the problems. I want to know we're going to identify what the problems are, what's going to stop us, but we want solutions. We want to know if we want to be here, if we're here and we want to be here, what are those steps? What are the things that we need to overcome on the way? So we're constantly focusing on what's the solution, what's the solution, what's the next step, what's the solution, what's the next step. Okay, and finally, confidence is a muscle. Okay, so we don't go to the gym to lift styrofoam or polystyrene weights. You know, we are not going to build muscle like that. Our brain and our sort of all linked with our stomach is all a muscle. We've got as many neurons in our stomach as we have in our brain, and we want to help them to fire, and we want to trigger them, we want to stretch them, we want to challenge them. And the more we do that, the stronger we get. The more we push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, the stronger we get. So on that note, really, very, very fast run through. Does anyone have any questions? Adele, are there any questions in the chat?
So I've been sent a couple as well directly. So one of the questions was, people want to understand how can they actively build and reinforce confidence within their team as a leader?
So I think it's about using these tools with your team, helping them to realise that actually we all struggle with this. And I think the biggest thing for a leader is to be able to have the humility to say, well, I don't have all the answers. Also, I don't always feel confident 100% of the time. And here's some things that can help us build that. So, what are the things that are they struggling with? Where is it they would like to be with it? What are the obstacles that are getting in their way? And once you know those, you can say, well, okay, if this happens, then what could you do to help you overcome that? What could we do together? How could I help you? I can coach you around some of those things. I can help you think about some things that you can do to overcome some of that lack of confidence. And, because every individual is very individual, we're idiosyncratic. So we're going to find we lose our confidence in different places. And some people are stronger than others in other areas and not so much in others. So helping them to identify how is it they want to be? How are they going to feel when they're like that? So like getting them to think about their best self, and then what's stopping them? What are the obstacles? And then what are we going to do to help them overcome those obstacles? And it's also getting them to not feel emotional about it. Let's not put emotion into it. It's just, it is what it is, and we can build it, and helping them to build that self-efficacy and believe in themselves, because they have been confident in other areas. And so how can they take some of that and move that into the area that they're struggling with?
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. Yeah, I think as well as a leader, it's about showing vulnerability, isn't it? Because, then people can also relate to actually that there is a vulnerable side, and it's okay to show the vulnerable side and actually ask for help. No, that's great. Thank you so much. So I've got two more questions, and I've just seen there's a question that's just come into, or not a question, just a statement. Someone has just said, Ross said, not a question, but the biggest takeaway for me was the statement, you don't have to be confident to take action. That's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, really important, Ross, and really good that you've because if you just know that, that's really empowering. Like, I don't have to feel confident, and actually it doesn't matter how I feel, I'm just going to take a step. And it, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong, because it's a no fail strategy, because you either win from that step or you get some feedback or some data, and you can say, oh, actually, yeah, this is what I need to do next time then.
Yes. So someone has said, how can I actively build and reinforce confidence within my team members as a leader?
I suppose it's the same thing, really.
Question, yeah.
It's recognizing that everyone in your team's individual. So I think it's really important as a team leader, you spend individual time with the individuals. Your job as a leader is to create other leaders around you. So helping them to understand, well, what is it that's getting in their way? How is it they'd really like to be, or what is it they're really trying to achieve? And then what's stopping them? How can we help them move around it, overcome it, smash down whatever barrier that is, and give them little steps to take so that you can help build their confidence.
No, that's great. Katie just said that was great, really helpful and thought-provoking. Got to leave, but she got another meeting, but thank you for the time. I've got the last question, so now we're on time. So what is the most common confidence-related mistakes leaders can make that can negatively affect their teams?
The biggest one is we procrastinate or pretend to be perfectionists. So we don't let go of things until we think they're really ready, and they're never going to be ready, because that's coming from a lack of self-belief or lack of confidence or doubt. And the procrastination, not doing something because you're fearful to just step out and take the action. And all that does is make us feel worse. And as a leader, you don't want your team around you seeing you do that. Now, it's not to say that we don't do that, but it's picking it up quickly when do you know what, I'm procrastinating here. I just need to get something out. Or I need to just say, hey team, I'm actually struggling with this. Can we sit round together? Or, you have a coach or a mentor that you can go to and say, look, I'm really stuck with this. Can you help me? So not asking for help and not taking action.
Brilliant. Toni, this has been fantastic, and thank you so much. I can't believe you went so fast through those 11. I don't know, you probably could speak for another few hours.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
A lot of thanks in the chat to say thank you for your time, and thanks again for everybody else who's joined us today. We will send out this recording as well as some of the handouts and workbooks that Toni has promised. But thanks again for joining us for today for ELA's webinar for March. Do join us next month. Have a look at our website, and we will also let you know when the next ones are. Thanks so much for everybody joining. Have a lovely day. Thanks Toni.
Guys. Take care.